Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unapologetically You. In today's podcast, Kelly and I have been talking about ways relationships are evolving, not only to serve our happiness and wellness, but our health generally, and how it connects our career path and the ways we are entrepreneurs. So if you want to engage with this podcast, let us know. If you agree, disagree, what do you like about the podcast or any of the things that we discussed today, head over to YouTube and comment on the video. Or if you're on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button and send us an email if you want to share your own experiences. We'd appreciate if you can share this podcast if you enjoyed it. And without further ado, this would not be possible without my gorgeous co-host, Kelly. Hi, Cal.
Hello, hello, hello. How you going?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm also well, thank you.
Oh, well,
Saying
let's
goodbye to
drive.
my Ivy. Yeah,
Oh, bless her. She made a swift appearance. For those of you
she did. Yeah.
watching in YouTube, you would have seen this gorgeous, leggy blonde, like walk
Oh
through.
yeah, I know. Twice the height of me. Yes, that was my Ivy. But no, we are both well. How about you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, all
that's good.
good. Now, should we dive in to our biggest wins?
I
You know,
think so.
this is my favorite part anyway. So, what is your biggest win thus far?
Thus far this week, since last week. Oh, it's been raining a lot lately. And today was our first day of sunshine. And since we moved here, everyone's been saying, oh, the sunsets are just glorious. Wait till you see a sunset over the river, which we back onto the river. And today, the most magnificent sunset. Just as I was driving up the driveway looking over it, I saw it. I saw it. It was beautiful. And all right, here's another win. Don't know if I told you about this one, but as I was driving out to Murwillumbah. Now, Murwillumbah is where we are, and we're driving through cane fields on each side, sugar cane fields. And right at the back, there's a mountain that used to be called Mount Warning, but a lot of places in Australia are now reverting back to the original Aboriginal names. So it's called Wollumban. So Wollumban is huge, the second highest mountain, I believe, in Australia. And you can see it from every direction as you wind your way through these sugarcane fields, but you're just looking in different spots to see it. Anyway, as I was driving through the cane fields, there was a rainbow, a triple rainbow. If you've ever, I have never, but it was like a tunnel of rainbows. And it was over the road, over the sugarcane fields, and Wollumban was right in the middle of it. And I drove through it. I've never driven through a rainbow before, but I drove through the arch of it. Now that was insane. That's a huge win. I felt something.
Oh my gosh, I can feel it as you're speaking.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Did you make a wish?
The energy I got for it just had me so excited, and I was just in the car by myself, and I was talking to myself out loud, going, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" Like I feel so energized. It was beautiful. It was just beautiful. So no, I didn't make a wish as such. I just enjoyed the experience.
Okay, so here's something fascinating about rainbows, which I didn't know.
Okay.
And if it's wrong, please correct me because I'm always learning. But
Yeah.
I read that when we look at a rainbow, it's always head on because of the light formation. So everybody sees,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter where you are watching the rainbow, it's always head on. And I was like,
Okay.
no, it's not. And I was like, no, it is because you always see it in a specific formation, don't you? And you
Yes, you
think,
do.
oh no,
Yeah. You
I've seen
don't
it
see
from
the
that
side of
view.
it.
I'm seeing it from that view, but it's still head on, isn't it?
Mm. That's amazing. Yeah. It does make sense that that would be the case. There'd be some kind of refractive
Yes.
science
But also,
behind that.
what I thought, okay, so when you do see a double rainbow, and this is going to be interesting for a triple rainbow experience.
Mm.
Double
Mm.
rainbows are not actually two rainbows stacked upon each other. There is the
No.
rainbow, and then it's the opposite light reflecting. So you're basically, you've got, oh, here's my skills now. The red, yellow, orange, green, all those colors at the bottom. Well, then
I can't
blue,
help you out.
indigo. So
Yeah,
then you see the
yeah,
other side. So you see the indigo, blue, the green, the yellow, the red, blah, 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 on the opposite way. So it's not a duplicate rainbow. It's just you're seeing the rainbow in an opposite way. Did you
yeah,
know?
like in the mirror.
Yeah.
I think on some level I did know that, but if you had asked me about that, I would have said I have no idea.
I had no idea until I knew that. Okay,
Yeah,
so what made you
okay.
smile? What was your, apart from that rainbow, would you say that
Oh,
was
apart
kind of
from the
like the
rainbow, I
biggest
would say
one?
the rainbow. It didn't just make me smile. I was energized. It was amazing. I want to feel that
Okay, I'm
every
taking
day. It was
it. I'm
beautiful.
taking the
Yeah.
win. Okay,
What
your
about you?
intention this week. So me and
My
Kelly actually
intention.
pulled a card of intentions before we actually
Mm.
hit record. And then she started telling me a story and I just like kind of shut her down. I was like, wait, we need to record this. Because I feel like there's going to be like some wisdom that not only I will benefit from, but whoever's listening now and in the future.
If
So
only I could remember the story. It was 3 minutes ago. I honestly can't remember
okay,
what I
so
was
let
saying.
let me let me share the actual affirmation or the line that got pulled
Yeah.
out. It was the mystic of divine love, and it was saying that love is divine. I am nothing except love. So Kelly was saying to me her intention was about selling the home. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting intention. I thought we were doing intentions for the podcast, but it's okay. So then I was like, okay, I'm listening, I'm receiving. Kelly then said that her intention was to sell the house so like it can sell quickly, right? And then as soon as I read that affirmation out, I think she just then shifted the perspective. Correct me if I'm wrong, because this was like literally within milliseconds, and I stopped her. And so she said, maybe I should change the way I'm intending this house to be
Yeah.
sold. And
Yeah.
so, do you want to kick off from there, Cal?
Well, the card said you are divine love. No, love is divine and you are love. And I
Yeah.
thought that is totally the reverse of my materialistic little intention. Um, so I said to Tuls, maybe it's just a good reminder that we are, what is important. The material side of what I intended was just came back at me as not really important as to who you are, what this is all about. And I don't know, I felt like it was a bit of a slap on the wrist. But it, I don't remember what else I was going to say that
Well,
was
I was going to actually interject on that, and I was
okay.
going to say this, and this is why I stopped us having that
Okay, good,
conversation. So
good,
I
good.
was going to say, do you remember when you had sold your previous house? I think it was the one in the
Yes,
mountains. And then you
yes,
walked into this house and you were like, no, this isn't it. This isn't it. And when you walked into the house that you are selling now, you were like, I
yes,
felt something. I felt
yes, I did.
something. And
Yeah.
you were like, I really want it. I really do want it. And then I think you kind of like set an intention around it. And there was some back and forthing with the buyer. And it eventually ended up that obviously you got that home. But I
Hmm.
remember us having this conversation just to go, the way you appreciated that home, the way that you kind of felt the energy of it, because we were talking about energies, right? And
Mm,
prior to this
mm.
podcast, we were talking about how, like, apparently you shouldn't be walking through graveyards on your own. Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But in this podcast that I was listening to, they said it's because there's different spirits and energies who want to latch on. Now, for me, this is a little bit like very deep into spirituality and energy. So there's no
Yes.
evidence around this. I'm not sure, but I've never felt that. I've never felt like when you walk into a room, you've got this weird sensation, weird energy, but you can't describe it. It's a bit like that.
Okay.
So I never experienced that during walking through a graveyard, but it was more of a church. So I was walking past a church basically, and you've
Uh-huh.
obviously got people who have been buried there. But then I said to Cal, well, we're walking and we're living in spaces that potentially loads of people have been buried under. We don't know because of history, right? It's
Hmm.
inevitable, right? That people have been buried in random places. So then I think for me, I was going to ask you, well, if your intention is to sell the home quickly, how can you switch that intention or request to say, I hope somebody uses this as something that they need. And it could be a forever home. It could be their first home that they're buying. It could be something that they're using as a stopgap. But how is that fulfilling their own personal intention, right? And you're kind of infusing
Yeah.
love in that rather than saying, I want it in a material sense. Well, actually, this could be somebody's life-changing moment. Like, I hope that home brings them whatever they need in that moment in with love.
See, this is why you what you do and why I ride your coattails and things like this. I you absolutely spun that beautifully. So I'm going to
Oh.
use that, take it straight out of your mouth and use it.
Absolutely, because it's not saying, it's not actually, it's driving that intention home with a hammer and nail, isn't it? It's going,
It is.
yeah, this is going to be so beneficial to somebody. I hope somebody finds it quickly and grabs that opportunity and that adventure that they're going to go on. Because look how much, like, even just being on the podcast with you and seeing the home from my vantage point, like
Hmm.
that was a little era for us.
I know. I don't want to sell the home. I would hold on to it, but there's there's a lot of money to be spent on the new build. So
Yeah.
um it's so all good. It's all good. I keep telling myself, all good. And like you say, a lovely someone who loves it as much as we did and found it such a happy, light-filled space. Yeah, I'm happy to, I'm okay with letting it go.
Good. Oh, that's important, isn't it? Letting it
It
go.
is,
It's
yeah,
like,
I'm not energetically holding on to it, right? Because
yeah,
that
but
no
I
matter what
think
I say,
we struggle with that just generally. I know I do.
for sure, but you've got to cut those little bonds, right? Otherwise, you're holding on to something, you're saying something, but you're acting differently. Okay, like the
Mm.
words don't match the actions. And I also read during the week that that's why you get facial tension or fascia tension
Really?
because your words don't match your actions. Yeah. So your inside doesn't match your outside. I'm like, oh, that explains the lines here.
And see,
Hmm.
when I was listening
Right.
to a podcast, somebody had intentionally said, I've stopped aging. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
how? Tell me. I want to know the
Tell me your
secret.
secrets. No, spill the secret on that one. I know, I did hear that as well. I've just decided to stop
No.
aging.
That's what I thought. I was like, no, the
Yeah,
intention is, and you know what? It wasn't a facade. It wasn't a gimmick because the whole point of this is the two guys were having a conversation, and one of the guys was like,
yeah,
oh, I'm this age. And he was like, what? Really? I thought you were much younger. You look a lot younger. And he said, yes, because a couple of years ago, I made an intention and I declared I'm done with aging. I think, well, can you remember what that line was? What did he say? He said,
pretty much that. I don't know the exact words. Do
yeah,
you?
like I've stopped
You
aging.
do?
Like this is
Yeah,
enough. I'm like, yeah, I've stopped aging or something. It was like a
yeah,
declaration. And then I tried
yep.
to mimic it. And I was like, yeah, but how
Mm-hmm.
do I feel about it? Because like a year ago, well, probably been eight months or so. And I remember trying to revise my eyesight. And the only
Yes.
tangible way I could have done that is first, it was all mentally. It was all through meditation. It was me going, my eyesight's amazing. I've got 20/20 vision. I glasses because my vision is profound. It's amazing. And I got to the
Mm.
opticians and I remember, you know how you're like cramming for a test and you're like, my vision's
Yeah.
really good. I've got 20/20 vision. I'm amazing. Just before I get into the opticians. So I'm sitting in the waiting room just going, like, quick, let me just cram in all these affirmations. And then I got into the eye test, and obviously they look at the back of your eye, the front, and all of these things. And they were like, oh, your vision's improved. I was like, shut the front door. Tell me exactly how it's improved. So they got up my records from 3 years ago, and
Yeah,
I could see the comparison between where it was and what it is now. And it was a reverse. It was a reverse of
was
I
a
don't
flip.
even need my
Wow.
glasses that I actually had temporarily for long distance driving in the night. I didn't even need that anymore. Like she was like, even those glasses are like irrelevant. If you didn't already have glasses, I would probably say you don't need them. And I was like, It is amazing. So I put my glasses away when I got home and I was like, my vision's perfect.
Great.
I've changed my vision. So I was like, why can't we do that with ourselves, with everything else?
Well, as it turns out, no reason. And you have the skill. You've already proven it to yourself, and you've proven it to science, I guess, or, the
There's
markers of
evidence out
science.
there. There's like Dr. Joe
Yeah.
Dispenza does this with his type of
Yes, he does.
meditation,
Yeah.
and he's actually got science proven research to say these, it was the not biogenetics. What was it called?
Um, the genetic markers, but
Yeah.
epidemiology.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So he was
Epigenetics. Epigenetics.
epigenetics. That's the one.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can change that. So
Yeah.
it's just fascinating. Honestly, we can just talk about this. We were just talking about what did we talk about intentions? We did, didn't we? See, we just go off on random tangents. Today's hot topic, I'm going to rein us back in. Probably not.
Rein it back
I'm
in,
going to
please.
rein
Yeah.
myself back in. Hot topic of the day. I want us to talk about relationships, happiness, and entrepreneurship. So during this weekend, I had been invited to a retreat, but it was a retreat almost like a person who has been working in the field of events, coordination, management, all of these things. She wanted to take that knowledge and create her own business from it. So she needed a portfolio to show off because there are old events that she's done, but she's not necessarily tracked them, nor can she probably put it in her own portfolio and send it out to prospective buyers and organizations, companies, things like that. So basically, she got a group of her friends together, and some of us coached, some of us, there was yoga, there was meditation. Like it was a sequence of, it was a proper retreat, but because
Hmm.
we knew what was happening, videos,
Hmm.
there was a videographer, there was videos everywhere, there was photographers, and we had to be a little bit patient with what we were doing, but it didn't take us away from, say for example, I was coaching, I just ignored the camera because I didn't actually resonate with it because all I was doing was focusing on my coaching. But
Hmm.
at that point, she came back to me going, we've got some good material of that. And I was like, that's brilliant. That wasn't the intention. My intention was focusing on the people in front of me. How can they have the best experience? And it was so funny right at the end when we were talking about our roundup. We started off with what is your word when you came into the retreat? Then what is your word after? Has it changed? Is it the same? So my word, honest to God, I drove in, and this is before I even knew what was going on. I drove in this, it's called 42 Acres in the UK. It's near Somerset and it's absolutely divine. Like you've just got fields and open spaces.
Oh,
It's gorgeous part of
yeah.
countryside in England. If you ever get a chance to go, um, let me know. So basically, I ended up driving in and I was just like, this is so
Oh,
idyllic. That was my word.
yeah.
This is so idyllic. And when we were sitting around the fire and that evening we were talking about what is the word, I was like, well, that's the word. I thought about it as soon as I drove in. That's the word. And it's so funny because when at the end of when we were closing and rounding up the retreat, my amazing friend, she just said, I felt chaotic. It felt chaotic to me because I was so
Oh,
busy doing this and that. I wanted everything to go accordingly. But I felt because of the chaos and because of the anxiety I was feeling, that you may all have felt it, but I'm listening to your words and you didn't. And I found that really profound to say that actually, even if we were there, we were washing dishes and we were cleaning up because it was a community effort. Like we're helping
yeah.
her, but also we've now got a weekend away in the friggin' sunshine, which was so rare in the UK. We were a part of these, immense activities. So we even though we were willing to help in the background, we didn't see it as a burden, if that made sense. We saw it as it's a collaboration of team people. And during that time, I met people that I haven't seen in a while. I met some of my old friends, and then I met some new people. So I was going to ask you actually, have you, Cal, ever consciously gone on a retreat with a group of people some of you may have never met? and then understood far more about yourself through that experience being surrounded by people?
Tuls doesn't always tell me the questions she's going to ask, but today she told me this one beforehand, and she said, "Do you want to take any of the questions out?" And I said, "I don't." But the answer to this one is no. I've never been on a retreat.
Would you ever want to go on one though?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would. And I wouldn't care if there was no one else I knew. The best wedding I ever went to, my husband was in the bridal party and I
Mm.
was just a guest there, but I didn't know anyone else. I had the best time ever. So, yeah, so I'd treat it just like another wedding where I don't know anyone. And I'd love it. I really would. So I
And you
would,
know
and
what?
I would go with no people. Yeah, go.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say, actually. There are experiences that you felt similar to going inwards whilst you're in a social engagement, because you're kind of surrounded by people. And for me, I like being by myself. And I feel like, when I meditate, when I do yoga, when I practice exercise, I go inwards. And that really, really helps, find some clarity and calmness. But have you
Mm,
ever felt those feelings whilst you're with other people?
mm. Yeah, I did. I do. I have. And the last Friday is a great example because my sister and I went out with my cousin and our cousin and her friend that she's known since she was a little girl. So she's older than us. We've known her all of our lives and this friend all of our lives. And it was such a lovely catch up. But there was so much to talk about, to listen to talk about relatives that we both knew and loved before they passed. And I sat there and I drank it in. I loved it. I love my cousin. I love her. And I love listening to her talk. She's so wise and so spiritual. And I just bask in the energy that she radiates. But I must not normally do that because after we left, my sister sent me a text message and goes, "Are you okay?" She wrote, are you okay?" "Why?" And she said, "You were really quiet." I'm like, aren't I always like that person who's quiet and listens and, only speaks with something relevant to say? Apparently not. So, don't ask you what people think of me because it's obviously totally different to the way I see myself. But yeah, so I did internalize. I did go into my, oh gosh, it did feel almost meditative, but it was really just a very solid listening session.
Okay, so I'm going to
It
delve
was
a little
fun.
bit deeper into this. What did you learn
All
from?
right. I learned that sometimes I had a story to tell my cousin and my sister, and it was a spiritual sort of thing, and I'll tell you later what it is. Um, so I had two versions of the same thread on the story, and I told the first one, and everyone's like, "Oh, wow!" And then someone said, "Oh, that happened to me too." Or I've got a story like that. And then I didn't get to tell my second story. And I was waiting till I could tell my second story, which was even more had more involvement with the people who were at the table. And I was so excited to tell it. And I thought they'd love it, not in a funny way, but like, and and then this other story got told. Then the conversation went on, and I sort of felt myself go, it's probably my ego, my little inner enemy, inner combatant. And I at the table I sat there and went, you know what, you weren't meant to tell that story, or there's a lesson in it somewhere, right? Just listen, not not waiting for yourself for you to speak and tell your story, but listen to, I know, to make a connection, not to listen to
Wow.
make it about your ego, or to let your ego come out.
Well, do you
That
want
was
to
what
share
came
that
out of it for
story?
me.
Do you want to share
I'll
that?
tell you later on
Okay,
now.
it's up to you. It's your call.
It's just on this property. It's a 2-acre property. There's a river that backs it for 2,000 meters. So the whole 2 kilometers is river frontage. And there's no jetty there at the moment. So there's really no easy way of getting up. You'd have to row a boat, get a speedboat or something there. Wouldn't want to swim it to come on up. The front gate is this way, and it's a long tree-lined driveway with expansive lawns on either side. And so because it's tree lined, but it's not bushy and expansive lawns, you'd see anyone walking up. I
Oh,
looked out the window, and walking, that's west, east, walking south
yeah.
is a man. And he was wearing black. So he was wearing young man's clothes, like black jeans, the tight fitting ones with sort of loose hips, and white t-shirt, hands jammed in his pockets, and wearing thongs. And I could hear the noise of the songs like the flip-flops, you guys call them, walking. And so I looked up. There's this guy walking in that direction. It goes to a fence. There's no gate through anywhere. And I thought, oh, someone's here, but he's walking away from me. Where is he going? Anyway, I looked at him, watched him for a little while. He just kept walking in that direction. So I turned my head to the right to look at the circular driveway that finishes right where the stairs are to come up to the main house. And there was no car there. And I thought, oh, okay. So I looked to the driveway to, did he park his car on the road? Did he park his car? Or did he walk up? I don't know. I was just looking to see if any evidence that was the gate open. No. And then I looked back to where he was going, and he was gone.
So you've got an open pathway. So he was like coming
Mm.
down the pathway, following the pathway.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you feel during all of that?
I went, it's a ghost.
Is that why
Oh,
you were saying there may be loads of like history within
yeah.
the ground?
Yeah, on this ground, yeah, which has a lot of history, this old 130-year-old house. A lot of local history, but a lot of war history as well. So, part of the war effort. And so I feel like it wouldn't be surprising if there were lost souls hanging around. But this looked like a modern day person, and it didn't look ghostly. It was a real guy. I could hear his flip flop songs walking, but where did he go? So now we're calling that section down there the Bermuda Triangle. So
I love that.
I don't know where he went. But is it do portals exist? Do
Yes,
did
100%. I'm just gonna put it out
where?
there. Yes. There's no evidence of it. I don't care. There's wormholes, there's black holes. Yes, portals exist.
Yeah. Did he know that? Is that why he went there? Because he didn't belong on the property, and it's bordered by a gated fence and a river.
That's so weird.
Right?
Okay,
So
so
that's the story I was going to tell. Yeah,
so
go.
here's the
What was your
thing.
question?
You know when you said
Uh-huh.
it looked like an ordinary person, have you ever seen the series called Ghost Whisperer with Jennifer Love Hewitt?
Oh, yes, I watched that until it got too spooky. But yes, I know. They look like
They're
normal people. I
ordinary
know.
people. She sees them
Yeah,
as ordinary
she
people,
sees
but
them.
she can
Yeah.
decipher who's who where. And when you saw it, I've only seen I think 2 episodes because I just stopped
Oh, it's
watching it.
really
I've
good.
just I've just started binging Scandal and that was it. Like I can't watch multiple series and my
No, gotta
binging is
focus.
watching one episode a night.
Oh, you're not normal.
That's my version of a binge. So basically, when I was watching the episode was like, oh, so and so, I can see them everywhere. She was explaining to a friend, and she said, well, so and so's there speaking to their mom, so and so's there speaking to that. But when you're seeing it on the actual series, on the video, they're just ordinary people wearing ordinary
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, I'm a big believer of support from angelic realms.
Oh, well, we both are. I think
We are,
everyone knows that by now. Yeah.
but
I have
that's interesting.
she's a friend. She's a friend. She's the wife of a very good friend, but she sees fairies and little aliens. She's always has ever since she was little, so it doesn't bother her at all. But she said they're little like imps, like they do
Yeah.
hide things, steal things. Take one of your socks, take the lid of the saucepan, hide it, or something like that. She said, no, they do. They do.
And that's really
And
interesting, isn't it? And the funny thing is when we're talking about this, it's so abnormal or unusual. But when you find a circle that it's happening to them too, you're like, oh, it's not just me. I'm not going crazy. Because it was an example from, I think this gentleman was called Matthias. Oh, it's something. I don't want to botch his name up because he's so amazing. Let me see if I can find it really
mhm,
quickly as I'm on here.
okay.
Matthias
Is
D.
this it?
Stefan.
Okay. I don't
No,
know the name.
Matthias Di Stefano. So he,
Stefan.
from a
Yeah.
very young age, remembers everything about the past. Like everything
Like
about,
would you say his past lives or the past as in history of humankind?
oh, that's a good question. I think it's all his past lives.
His past.
His
Okay,
past
yep.
lives. But then, yeah, he remembers like the story of Atlantis and all of the
People
Egyptian period
do.
and all these different things.
Yeah.
So he thought when he was a child, he thought his story is I'm understanding everything. I'm knowing this is a different reality. I'm understanding where I was previously. I'm understanding. He's basically looking at the past as if so many different lives have he just remembers them all. And so for a long time, I don't think it came from his parents, but I think his mum was concerned about him. So they obviously went to the doctor and they got, recommended as a diagnosis of maybe it's schizophrenia, maybe it's his mental disorder, maybe it's
Mm,
this. And the
mm.
only thing is when you're looking for an answer from somebody who doesn't quite believe it, it makes you think that you're the odd one, you're the weird one, you are making things up. But then it's like with Kelly and I, how long have we known each other? For at least 10 years, I would say.
We've been doing the podcast for nearly 5.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say 10 years
at least, right?
at least. Yeah.
And we only started speaking about spirituality in the most recent, like, you're not even at the
Yeah.
beginning of the podcast. I think it's kind of merged through the podcast.
No, like I would say the last year.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely the last year. And I've never known the details of like Kelly's past, her experiences she talked about a little bit more with me. And it's almost like it was always there, but we couldn't get the keys to unlock those treasures until we were ready for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you end up in that energy, again going back to energy, you attract like-minded people. And it's the same with entrepreneurship. I feel like because we're talking about social engagements, when you're in this experience where you don't know anyone, this is what I did over the weekend. I said, I'm in receiving mode. Now, for many, many women, I'm going to generalize the hell out of this statement. It's very difficult to receive. It's so easy to give. It's so easy to nurture. It's so easy to offer everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything. And especially if you're a mother, you'll know. Now,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
it's a very generalized statement. But what I'm trying to say is the polar opposite of that is receiving. So how capable, how efficient, how are we able to receive? And a lot of women will say, what do you mean? What are you on about?
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because
And the
the
more often,
giving is receiving for them, right? But this is different. This is actually
yes.
being in this presence of an open energy to receive what you need. And you're in that energy when you were with your cousin and her friend, because you were in that energy of receiving the information. You were in the energy of listening. But I never really put that spin on it before. So then this weekend, I said, I'm in the element of receiving. What do I need to receive? But also, what do I need to shed? So, what do I need to create space for in order to receive that information? And I'll probably tell you this offline because I was going to tell it to you. No, it was before our podcast recording, actually. I had a call with somebody and it kind of made me want to tap into my 5 to 10 year plan. Um,
Hmm.
and so I remember being at the retreat and I said, I'm not going to go up to anybody. I'm not going to, you know how you just walk up to somebody and be like, hey, how are you? I'm so and so, blah, blah, blah. And then start to, what do you do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just the conventional, societal,
Yes.
acceptable conversations. Weather's amazing, isn't it? It's really amazing. And let's be
Yeah.
honest, we did have a lot of conversation about the weather because we were just aghast about how incredible it had been. But then
Hmm.
my perception was, I want to speak to this person, or I'm open to receiving conversations that are just gonna help me learn, help me change. And no word of a lie, Kelly, the right people
Mm.
came at the right time and the right conversations happened. And I can't describe it to you. It's just like those interactions of incredible entrepreneurs who are, chefs, photographers, videographers. She's my friend is actually, wanting to start up her own business. There was another person in recruitment. Like, honestly, the people blow you away. I'm
Yeah.
just this element that, you're going inwards, you're learning so much more about yourself, but then you're astounded by how many incredible people doing incredible things out there, following their soul path, following things that light them up.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I love meeting those people. You learn so your learning is accelerated from those people. I think. I feel I learn better from those people than the people who've maybe doing the hard slog or doing it the harder way or complaining about it. But the people who aren't doing something for the material reward, and it's like they're in a slipstream.
Yeah, that's a
That's
really
how
good
it feels
word.
like to me. Yeah.
And this is just going to be a hint of it because we've already talking about a lot of spirituality. So we'll go back to our happiness topic. But
Yeah.
every single person talked about tarot, talked about spirituality, talked about their own space within that field. And there are phenomenal people doing phenomenal things, following their dreams.
Mm,
And I was like, isn't that
mm.
funny? You know, when they say, oh, successful people meditate, multimillionaires meditate. They have this type of style. They have these types of conversations. The conversations are different, right? So it's just like, wait a
Hmm.
second, entrepreneurs are having these different conversations. So my next question is, Cal, how do you navigate the challenges of relationships that sometimes stop you from tapping in with these individuals, right? So, say, for example, you made a decision that you want to go catch up with your cousin, with your sister,
Mm.
and your cousin's friend. You've got time restraint, you've got, barriers, multiple barriers from different areas. Goodness, like you were moving home, you're selling your other home, you're
I
running your own
know I
business.
had work to do and people
The
to
fact that
see.
you added this
Absolutely.
into your schedule, like, how do you end up navigating those challenges between those relationships or those conflicting priorities? Because I know for me, just to add in before you answer that question, I always put work first. Always, 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 always. And that's fine. And I remember speaking to my mum recently, and I said, oh, this is great opportunity. I could do this, but then I'll need to cancel this, 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 this. They were all social engagements for that month because I don't know. Like, I'm going to have to obviously go with work. And she goes, but you always do that. You always prioritize work. And I think she's very magical and powerful in herself. I feel like she already put an intention out into the universe. I didn't end up getting that contract for that role.
Hmm.
And that was fine because
Hmm.
it was all
Hmm.
temporary anyway. And I was like, oh, I now get to do all of the things that I don't need to cancel anymore. So it would have been a win to get the job, but it also is
Yes.
a win to have all these social engagements. So I always prioritize work. And now I'm so glad the universe is twisting things around that I get to prioritize these engagements indirectly.
Yeah. And I know they're all very good engagements too. You're doing some super fun things over your summer. How do I prioritize what I get to do? So my work, and I've made my job something I enjoy. Okay. So I enjoy meeting people and chatting to people and doing different things with each person. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not the same thing over and over and over. I'm not rehashing the conversation, the questions, the job, bye bye, and then doing the same thing again.
Yeah.
So my job is a joy. And then I have deliberately made sure that my Mondays and my Fridays are quieter days in terms of seeing people, because I do need to maintain some energy, or draw back some energy that I give to other
Mhm.
people. Um, that's the thing about working with people who are injured, Tuls, and I think you would agree, is that they come into a situation ready to take from you, to take from the situation, from the room. So very rarely does an injured person come in ready to give. They might come in ready to give their best shot, but they come in sore, tired, not a low vibrational energy, right? They don't bring the motivation, they don't bring that high vibe. That's what you're there to provide, and they take it, they drink it up. But it's also why they come back, because you provide this high vibe energy, right? Anyway, so my Mondays and my Fridays are quieter days, just so I can recover a bit. I then have the Friday mid morning to 1 o'clock, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. I actually have free, so it's not even. I don't even have anything scheduled. And so when my cousin said, "Do you have any time this week?" My sister is much busier with me. Her company is a huge, huge company, so she's very busy. Um, she said, "I can only do Friday at 10 o'clock." I'm like, so sometimes I don't need to prioritize things. They just fall in my lap in just the right way.
That's what I mean.
Right?
Those are the
Yeah.
things.
Yep. And then I had to take my daughter to the airport. She needed to be picked up at 1:15.
Yeah.
So I had organized that weeks ahead to
Yeah.
sort of push back my client engagement. And
It just
I know
happens.
that's right. One of the clients who I normally see on a Friday at 1:30 cancelled because he tested positive to COVID. That's
Oh.
right. Yeah, I
Well,
know.
these are the things. It's like you plan certain things. Okay, so here's a story for my
Mhm.
relationship and challenges that I was going through. So it was Sunday morning, and because obviously I've kind of checked out now. I'm like, look, I've done my coaching, I've done something different. I did something completely different this weekend, and it was really good feedback. I was really pleased that it was received well. And then after on the Sunday, I was a little disappointed I didn't catch the Aurora Borealis that
Oh, you
everybody
didn't?
in the UK
Everyone
were
did.
trying to look at. On Friday, honestly, there was so much going on, and I'll probably tell you this offline, but there was so much going on. Then I was tired, so I was like, it was almost like it was such an emotional release kind of day. I just that
Hmm.
on top of, driving 3 hours, 4 hours, having to go through that, then obviously settle into this new place. There was a sound bath as well. And then after the sound bath, if you've done it before and other people who are listening, you kind of just check out. You're like, I'm ready to retire for the day. What I didn't know,
Yeah.
it was 3 o'clock in the morning, but I woke up at 4 a.m. I naturally woke up just before 4, but 3 a.m. or 3:30 were the aurora lights. So whatever had happened in that time, tried to stay up, was dancing for like 2 hours on Saturday night with a gang. And it was maybe like 1 o'clock or 1:30 before we actually went, because we were dancing under the stars. There was a clear night. We're like, maybe it'll show up now, maybe it'll show up. Didn't work. So on the Sunday, I was like, okay, I've already meditated for 2 hours, just like I did on the Saturday morning. I would already been up for 3 hours meditating by myself on my own. And then I thought, okay, I can't go back to sleep. What do I do? There were two options. There was meditation in the woods, like that in itself just rolls off your tongue, like yes.
Yeah.
And then there was the slow flow yoga. And I was like,
Hmm.
I appreciate the slow flow yoga, but I really want to do. No, actually, I wasn't sure. Actually, at that point, I wasn't sure. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Whichever one I go for, I know I'll get a good benefit from it. And then I was at breakfast, and I asked one of the other people that I've never met before, and I was like, "Hey, what are you gonna do today?" And so he was like, "I don't know." I was like, I think I'm going to do the meditation. It's almost like a validation. I'm asking this complete stranger for validation. Like, are you going to go? Maybe I'll go too. Got changed. I was going to go. The intention was go to the meditation and then go to the sauna after, and then just have a little bit of a steam sauna, and then, come back for brunch. I was waiting. I was speaking to the meditation teacher actually. I wasn't sure about him. There was just a different vibe. But I was like, no,
Mhm.
let's just. And then he started talking to me. So I was like, hmm, okay, I've already committed to this, but let's just see how it goes. And so my friend who's organizing this whole event and her portfolio, she came up to me really close and she kind of just pointed at me. And like I thought she was pointing at my shirt. And she was like, you need to change. Because we had this thing of, can you wear neutral colors? So all the photographs and the people would
Oh,
actually, so
okay.
it was a big deal, right? So she's invested a lot of money in this weekend. So she's like, can you change? I was like, oh no, I didn't pack that many neutral colors. Like all my neutral colors were literally back at the flat. And because I'd gone home,
Right.
like
Yeah.
circumstances would have it, I didn't have that many. I'm like, I'm really sorry, I can't change. And she was like, no, what you're wearing is fine. She was like, no, can you change the program? I know you wanting to go to meditation because you're waiting for it, but we don't have that people in yoga. Can you go to yoga? So I'm there going, oh, thank God you're not judging me for my attire. And then she was like, no, we need more people because there's not that many people who've chosen yoga. And then obviously they need
Yep.
it for the material and the portfolio. So I was like,
Yes.
team
Yep.
player, yes, willing to go, off we go. It was only
Yep.
four of us. There's 26 of us during the weekend. Four of us ended up in yoga. So everybody wanted to go to meditation. There was something about the weekend that I think, and a lot of people hadn't done meditation before. A lot of people hadn't done the sound bath. A lot
Okay.
of people hadn't done a lot of those things. So she called in the right people, but the people who wanted to keep an open mind and try things. So during the yoga, she said, you know what? We need to bring this yoga instructor in as a guest. But her mentality was, let's go through some of the movements so it's good for the video and the content, and then we'll wind down at the end. Oh, she pushed us. Oh, she pushed us. We were just going through flows and we barely warmed up, but we knew it was purely for the content. So I was kind of going through it and I was like, I didn't expect this. I just wanted to sit down and meditate this morning. Like, even though I meditated in the morning, I
That's
was
why I
like,
chose
oh my gosh,
meditation.
I didn't feel properly dressed. And I had my swimsuit on underneath.
Oh,
And
oh
anyway,
yeah.
I was like, what is
That's
this
why everyone
teaching me?
chose meditation.
But then I was like, what is this teaching me? The universe has obviously
Okay.
said, you had a choice. You picked the
Yep.
wrong one.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I gave you opportunity to like pick.
Yes,
No, it's
yes,
almost like, how somebody offers you something like, do you want this or this? I'm like, I'm offering it to you, but I really want this. So can you take that?
yes, yeah,
So I feel
yeah.
like the universe is playing with me. So I'm there doing yoga and I was like, okay, what do I need to learn? What do I need to be open with? And I still don't understand what the actual element was, but I feel like the overall lesson was, you're not going to go wrong with your decisions. You're just not going to go
Yeah.
wrong with your decisions. It's always going to work out, but you also don't need to be so mindful about those decisions. You can literally just let
Yeah,
it
they're
go
there.
and allow
They're
life to flow
lessons.
to you.
Learn from it. Be grateful you learnt it so quickly and so efficiently, right?
Yeah. It's just like
Yeah.
you don't need to worry about stuff. When people are worried about or career or an opportunity that they're waiting for or a relationship,
Yeah.
you aren't going to go wrong.
No.
Trust yourself. You're not going to go wrong. And when you have an experience that is teaching you something, well, isn't
Yeah.
that the whole purpose of life?
Yeah.
Like people say life is a struggle, but again, it's like going back to that question where you said, I want to sell the house. I want to, organize all of this. But we're like, well, wait, how do we shift the same environment, same circumstance in a different way? But now we're
Mm.
releasing that attachment so we can allow more
Yeah.
things to come in. So,
Yeah.
final question. I just want to go a bit of an intimate question, Cal. What is the most
Okay.
significant relationships that have affected your personal growth and happiness?
You, Linda, Simone, Lizzie, girlfriends. I mean, yes, my husband as well, but in a different way. Girlfriends, I think as we get older, although my daughter's generation really cherish their girlfriends and their relationship and nurture them and, you know, make them flower as well. But I didn't at that age. So kind of different living environment. So on the farm, you know, my horse was my best friend. Like, no joke. It
Did
really
you end up,
was.
you know, like how you journal and you're kind of like cultivating that inner sense of reflection? Did you ever
Yeah.
talk to your horse about things that were troubling you at that time?
Oh, my horse was, she actually knew everything. She was a wise. And the dog would always just, trot along beside you while you
But they say that
out
animals
on the
get
horse.
energy. They really do get energy. So a
I
horse
I
won't allow
totally believe
you
that.
to get on them if like if it doesn't align. It's not it's why what do they say? Go up to the horse, be friendly to the horse, kind of like get to know them. It's like you're introduced like for goodness sakes, you wouldn't just jump on somebody's back, would you?
No.
You'd be like, "Hi, hello, I'm so and so. What do you do? What's the weather like
Oh
today?"
no. Oh no. Oh no. No, you wouldn't do it. So yes, you do introduce yourself to the horse.
Yeah.
And I was always taught, maybe I wasn't taught it. I always did it. Um, but I'd put my little head down because I was little when I had my horse, and the horse brings its head down. I would sniff the horse's breath and breathe into the horse's nostrils, and just love all those little sensitive parts of the horse, rub around his eyes, her eyes. Um, yeah, I look, I definitely have good special bonds with animals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
always have had.
girlfriends, animals,
Girlfriends, animals.
also people,
Uh,
older people now, because you're actually
oh my
really
goodness, yeah.
connecting with people who maybe not on the precipice of their deathbed, but they are almost they're no
Oh, they
longer
they can
fearing
see
death.
heaven. Yep, no, they
Yeah.
are, and they talk about it. Um, yeah, they do. They talk about it quite openly. And at first, I was, do I engage in this? Am I encouraging something that shouldn't be spoken about? But they'll continue to talk about it even if you sort of shut it down the first time. So, yeah, the conversation comes up again and again. So it is something they start to think about, and some of them, more the women than the men, but some of them do say like heaven is calling.
Oh,
I'm being called, right? They use different language and different sort of
yeah.
visualizations of it, but that's what they say. So yeah, I do work with people who are close to close to passing over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
moving on to the
moving
next
on.
adventure. And so it's
Yeah.
really funny as well because I remember us having a conversation when you first started working with them and you said that often people, grandparents, older generation don't necessarily have the access to speak about this with their family because their family will shut it down. Like, oh,
Yes.
let's not talk like that. Oh
Yeah.
no, you're going to be around
Yep.
forever. And also it's their attachment to that person, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
Of
there is
course.
almost this disconnect with you that they
Yeah.
have this open space to be themselves.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. And I am very accepting of conversations people want to have, need to have, didn't even know they needed to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. The families do shut it down, and they do at least want to, some of them want other people to know their wishes, their, you know, burial, don't want a gravesite. And this was a conversation yesterday. That's why everything's coming so easily to me. But yeah, one person was talking about what they would like, the way they'd like to be remembered, the legacy they hoped they would leave. Um, yeah, yeah. Just I'm just wondering whether I should say too much about it because it's not my story to tell. Like I
Yes.
was there and part of it, but it's not my story to tell. So it's,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
that's the discretion that we hold as practitioners as well. It's saying that
yes,
we've got these amazing stories, but again, it's not ours in that. Like we can be a bit broad about it, like I was for this weekend. I didn't mention
yes, no,
very
no
many
names.
details, but
Yeah.
what would you say as a final question, our health motivational tip of the day? What would you say for any entrepreneurs or any people who are struggling with relationships or, it could be work relationships or anything like that? Like, have you got any tidbits? Have you got any pieces of wisdom for
Do I
us?
have wisdom? I should be the one asking for wisdom. Um, Only because I work with so many different personalities. That's before anyone starts wondering what's wrong with all my relationships. But it's not that. What was in my head was I work with so many different personalities, and some of them are very, very different from me. And I'd love Tuls to be sitting on my shoulder and go, "Psst, this is how you deal with that one. This is how you deal with that one." So
You're the
anyway,
second person
how
to say about that very sentence.
see you have a certain skill set that is, yeah, no, don't do that funny little face. It's like a good skill set. It's amazing. It's amazing. Um,
No, I felt that in my heart as soon as you said that was the only face I.
oh, okay. It was like, oh, that little face was it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Like you see me.
yeah, yeah, right. I do. I do.
Oh,
Um, oh, I don't know the answer to that one, Tols. Why don't you answer that one from your perspective?
okay. So Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
you know how much I love you, and I appreciate you. But I wasn't this forthcoming with my emotions with like many people. I probably still will hold back. However, we've built this relationship, we've put time, effort, and energy into this. We're putting effort and energy into the podcast. And I remember writing about it, and I was like, again, I'll tell you this offline, but it's like this relationship that I just keep getting. It's food for my soul, I feel. It's food for my soul. Every time I learn more things about you, every time I hear you, I almost check myself. So you sent me an amazing podcast that I still
Oh,
will
yes.
refer back to. But the most important
Mm-hmm.
question that I feel that I'm asking myself lately is how do I change? I'm
Mm.
inviting change into a connection, into a relationship. So I feel this podcast in particular, I've probably talked a lot, but I've also been able to go, what do I need to learn? And the only way you can
Mm.
really do that is listen. So you're teaching me so much about that. And I know you're a good listener, but you're also helping me become a better listener. And I love listening to you.
I love
That's my
listening to
hope.
you. But referring back to that podcast that we both keep referring back to, actually, if you recall, it was said in that space that if you're going to if you want to learn something from someone and you have that 5 minutes before you go in to not learn from someone, learn from an experience, and you have 5 minutes before you're going in, 10 minutes, do your spiritual work then
Yeah.
and set your intention as what you want to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
out of this.
Yes.
And the actual wording was ask the creator to channel through the experience or the person what you need to know or what you need to feel.
Oh,
And
I'm so
that's
glad
what
you
I
said that.
right,
I'm so
know
glad
or
you said
feel.
that.
That I think that's a really important thing to not make a distinction between, but to know that knowing and feeling can be entwined, and
Yeah.
you can learn from either or both. You don't just have to know something. You don't just have to feel something. You can know it, and it's like us with our beliefs.
Yes.
We know it to be true because we've had experiences that have proven that to us, but the feeling you get as well. So we know it and we feel it, right? And
Oh,
we're sort of,
that's the
yeah.
perfect way to end. I'm just gonna keep repeating that back, guys. This is gonna be a podcast keeper that I'm gonna hold dear to my heart. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Kelly, for your time
Thank
today.
you.
And if you found this podcast useful, comment below if you're on YouTube. Share it with your family and friends. Let us know what experiences you've got around spirituality. Do you have this inner feeling and knowing about certain things? Share it with us. We'd love for you to be a part of our community. So hit subscribe if you haven't already. Click the like button because then more people can find videos like this. And this is something that Kelly and I are doing without money. We're taking
Mm.
time out. We're not getting paid for this. So if you can help us out in a small way to share this message, we would deeply, deeply appreciate it. So thank you, Cal. I will speak with you soon.
Thank you, Tuls. Yes. Have a good night.
Bye.